Hello, Professor. So for this work review, I'll be going over the two use cases that I worked on. The first one was the simulation UI manager, and the second one was an additional feature to the enemy agent script, which was enemy patrolling. And I'll show you what that looks like soon. But to start off, we'll talk about the simulation UI manager. And essentially, what we have here is we have the different buttons for the menu. We have the pause button, the speed up and down buttons, the hamburger button, and we have various metrics that are displayed when I press on the hamburger button menu. Those metrics include days, time, number of agents, enemies, food, so on and so forth. And then over here in the start section, we hook up the buttons with clicks. So this essentially gives us the functionality. So every time I press on the buttons, what happens, it looks for those things. And then the various functionalities are activated when I press on the different buttons. So like toggling to pause, to upgrade the speed. Um, and then we also update the speed label. So the speed is for speeding up the simulation, making everything go much faster so that we can uh, spectate it more quickly, not have to wait as long. And everything else is pretty self-explanatory here. For the toggle pause, we're just waiting to see if the is pause boolean was not true, and if it's not true, then we change those things. And it's the same with the speed. Over here, we play with time in order to speed it up and slow it down. It's the same thing with decrease speed. We're simply subtracting the time rather than adding it. And then we update the speed label over here. And then for the metrics panel, essentially when I press on the menu, it shows all the various metrics of the simulation. Um, and those metrics look like this. We have days passed, time passed, number of agents, enemies, and food. And so let me show you how that looks like when I start the simulation. So you see at the top right, we have all the various buttons. We see that the simulation is working. The agents are moving around. We have food, all of that. I can pause the simulation and you'll see that the agents stop moving. I can unpause it, and then I can also speed up the simulation. So you'll notice that the agents will move much faster now. When I make it 4 times speed and 5 times speed, you'll see that they all go quicker. And then when I open the hamburger menu, we get all these statistics. So how many days has passed, how much time has passed, so far 16 seconds. The number of agents that are still in the simulation, so like who's still alive, and then the number of enemies and the number of food. And then you could see that a day is passing, it's becoming night. Yeah. Okay, and so for the next use case, I modified the already existing enemy agent script. And this time I added a feature called enemy patrolling. Now, essentially, what enemy patrolling is we wanted it so that groups of enemies would patrol around a specific radius that's unique to themselves, and not just walk all over the map. And so that might not make sense. So I'll show you visually in a second here. But over here, what we're doing is we're first grabbing the spawn position of each agent, because we want the agent to stay relative to their spawn position. We don't want them to break past that radius and walk across the whole map. And so we do a couple checks here just to make sure that everything is all right. And then in the update script, we use the field of view to make sure that the enemy is seeing an agent. Because I made it so that if the enemy sees an agent and the agent enters the radius that the enemy is allowed to patrol in, then the enemy then chases the agent. But the instant the agent escapes, the enemy is returning back to their patrol radius. They can't leave past it. So right here we have that check. It says if we lose sight of the agent while chasing, then we return to our target. And then we call get return destination over here, just to bring back the enemy back to their patrol group. And then this is the roaming coroutine. This is essentially just what the enemies do when there aren't any agents around them. They kind of just roam within their patrol radius. Then we set some roam targets, and then they just roam until an agent enters the radius, to which they then lock onto the agent and chase them. And that happens in the on collision enter. So we constantly check to see if a prefab titled an agent enters the field of view of the enemy, and that triggers the chase. And then over here we also have pause movement. This is for serving as a cooldown so that the enemy doesn't go back to chasing right away. And now let me show you what this looks like. All right, so you see the agents are all bundled up in their own groups, and they have a specific radius that they won't cross. So you see here, these agents are not leaving past their radius. They're all staying within a group. Um, and essentially, when an agent spots, or when an enemy spots an agent, then it'll trigger a chase. Um, and so you see right now, because the agent is not within the radius of the enemy, no chase is being activated. But the instant that agent does move inside, then it'll trigger a chase. And that is going to be all for my two use cases. Thank you.